think I'll be ready.
Oh.
I think it'll be just fine.
49ers trade up above the Bengals in 2021 draft, and how would I have drafted in 2020? What's up, Bengals fam? It's your boy Mike coming back with another Who Daily. Big news today. There was a big trade, and we'll go over it with you. And the 49ers moved up in the draft and trading with Miami to move up to number 3. Also, I want to take a look at last year's draft and see if I agree with all the picks, or how the draft would have gone if I was the GM. I guess they don't have a GM. If I was Duke Tobin, how the draft would have gone for the Bengals. Let's get into it. So here's the rundown of the trade here. The Dolphins, basically, they traded that number 3 pick to the 49ers, right? And they got the first and third round picks in 2022 from San Francisco, and also a first round pick in 2023 from San Francisco. And then the Eagles got involved, and also they were able to get the number 12 pick and the number 123 pick from Miami, and also the first round pick from Miami in the 2022 draft, in order to get that, in order for Miami to move up from 12 to 6. So that's what it is. And really, to be honest with you, if you take a look at what's going on here, the 49ers would not be giving up 2 first-round picks to move up to take a tackle. They're probably going up there to get a quarterback. Even though they've publicly said that Jimmy G's their guy, I can't imagine giving up that much draft capital to move up to take a tackle or a wide receiver or something. It's just crazy. You just wouldn't do it. So look for them to grab a quarterback, and it just, it depends on which one will be there, because Jacksonville's taking Trevor Lawrence. That's chalk. The Jets have been mocked to do all kinds of things, but they might take Zach Wilson after that crazy pro day he just had today. Look for San Francisco to go, Justin Fields or Trey Lance. A lot of people have Atlanta trading out of that spot, but even if they stay there, they might take Trey Lance, or somebody might trade up to take Trey Lance, in which case the Bengals get the pick of all the non-quarterbacks in the draft, whatever player they want to go with, right? Which is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. So let's take a look here. Moving on, I wanted to take a look at the draft from 2020. I thought this was kind of fun. I like to do mock drafts on Fridays, but today I wanted to jump in to take a look back, because I made a big board last year for the draft, and what I want to go through is how I would have drafted if all we did was go through and all we did in every round was take the BPA of my big board, right? Let's see what the Bengals draft would have gone with. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Everyone, just like everyone, I had Joe Burrow as the number 1 player on my big board, so we're not going to go through that. They took Joe Burrow in the first round. In the second round, though, right? I know I love me some T. Higgins. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they picked T. Higgins. I wouldn't, in retrospect, do this, but on draft day, in the room, my BPA at the top of the second round at pick 33 was not T. Higgins. It was actually Jaylon Johnson, the corner. And Jaylon Johnson, if you take a look at his season PFF grade for defense, was a 54.9. Not great. And that's kind of on the low end of what you'd want. But he flashed really quite a bit, and he plays a premium position in corner. So he's not as good. I mean, if you want to grade him right now, T. Higgins is a better pick. But I think going forward, they're gonna end up being as valuable as each other, essentially. As good as I think T. Higgins is going to be in a couple years, I think Jaylon Johnson's going to be that good as a corner in a couple years. He started off hot, man. He came in against Detroit and New York first 2 games of the year and put up 75 plus on the defensive grade, but then he just kind of fell off a cliff and had a really bad learning curve kind of through the middle of the season. Put up a couple decent performances in the middle of the season, ended strong against Houston with another 75 defensive score and an 85.8 coverage score in that game. So, The Bengals, you've seen their struggles in corner for the corner position over the past few years. My thought process here was to get younger at corner, get a corner for the future who can play with William Jackson III for at least a year, who can play, get to know Lou Anarumo's defensive scheme without, having to be relied on as the #1 corner. But, that didn't happen, and that's why we're doing this. Let's move on to that next pick in the draft. The Bengals in the 3rd round took Logan Wilson. Again, don't get me wrong, I love Logan Wilson. I think he's going to be and is, a really strong linebacker. He's smart, and he's a coverage backer, which is really important in today's NFL. However, the BPA at this spot for the Bengals, for me, was the offensive lineman, Damien Lewis. And Damien Lewis ended up getting picked by Seattle. Take a look at his grades. He ended the season with a 71.2 overall grade, playing right guard for the Seahawks. Now, just saying that he put up that grade at right guard should make Bengals fans say, yeah, I will take Logan Wilson every day, because you need to we're seeing how important it is to have guard, good, competent guard play. But man, he just put together a really strong season. He struggled a couple of games, once against San Francisco in the middle of the year. He struggled once against the Raiders. Both times they played San Francisco, he struggled, and against the Raiders. But every other game, he put up really strong numbers. Against the Bills, he put up a 92.2 overall offensive grade per PFF, which was the highest of the season. And man, what I wouldn't give to have a guard like this on this offensive line. It would take a lot of pressure off of what we're doing here. And again, this isn't bashing any of the picks the Bengals actually made. I actually agree with these so far. Like, these were good picks. It's not like the Drew Sample pick or the trading up to get a quarterback that shouldn't be playing in the league. Next pick, the Bengals took Akeem Davis-Gaither, and I really like Akeem Davis-Gaither. I think, again, he's going to be pretty good. But that's just not who I had at the top of my depth chart. Actually, at the same position for BPA, I actually had Troy Dye sitting here, the linebacker out of Oregon. He was picked by the Vikings and didn't actually play much. He was injured through most of the season. He played like 7 games or so. Didn't get a lot of snaps. Mostly, I think, special teams guy. I could be wrong here. This could end up being not very good. He could end up being not a very good player. I mean, he is on the lighter side. He's 6'4", 226. To me, Troy Dye seemed more like a big, strong safety type player, a box safety type guy who could cover tight ends. That's really where my thought process was with Troy Dye and take it here. But the jury's out on Troy Dye. The jury's still out also on Akeem Davis-Gaither. So I don't really know how to grade this one, to be honest with you. So let's move on to in the 5th round. The Bengals ended up taking Khalid Kareem. Guess what? This was BPA for me on my list. I would take the same dude, Khalid Kareem. I think that he's got the potential to be a long-term kind of rotational defensive end, and could peak every once in a while to be a really sniffing at Pro Bowls every once in a while. But if you look at his defensive grades, I mean, he had a kind of typical rookie year. He flashed really good potential. In week 3, he put up an 84.2 defensive grade, but that was only on 7 snaps, right? Whenever he got more snaps, for example, the game he got the most playing time was against Tennessee in week 8, and he actually, he got 43 snaps, and he only put up a 50.3 grade, right? But he's still learning. He's a rookie. He's a young dude. He played, spot kind of rotational type pass rusher. He played 18 snaps against Cleveland in week 7 and put up a 70.8 score. I think this is decent value, getting this kind of playing time out of a 5th round pick. So Khalid Kareem, still liking it, right? And here's where it starts to get vastly different. In round 6, the Bengals took Hakeem Adeniji. I don't think that's been proven to be like a bad pick yet, but the problem is, I don't know that Adeniji is going to get, by the time Adeniji is good enough, he improves his game enough to be a starter in the NFL, he might not be on the Bengals roster is the problem. So right here at the top, actually, Hakeem Adeniji was not my best. He's not only not my best player available, he wasn't my best offensive lineman available. This is where it gets really bad, because I think the Bengals miscalculated here, because if you do just a direct comparison of Hakeem Adeniji versus Michael Onwenu's tape, their college PFF scores, Michael Onwenu is a better player, and he got drafted by the Patriots. But sitting there, he was available, and the Bengals skipped on him and went with Hakeem Adeniji. Michael Onwenu had an incredible rookie season playing right, mostly right tackle for the Patriots. He put up an overall season grade of 84.3, which would have been the best offensive lineman on the Bengals team last year, right? I mean, he put up a 90-plus score 2 times, once against the Raiders, once against the Chiefs. And then he put up an 80-plus score, what was it, two times also. So two 90-plus and 2 80-plus scores. The 80-plus scores came against Buffalo, second to last game of the year, and another one against Buffalo in Week 8, right? So he likes playing against Buffalo. But, his pass blocking grade was a 72.5. So actually he's a little bit better run blocker, but he also has guard flexibility, which is the reason why he was higher than Adeniji on my list, because I think Onwenu playing, you already drafted Damien Lewis to play guard. You could have Michael Onwenu play the other guard. They would have never had to bring in Spain to begin with. The reason they brought Quentin Spain in is because all of their linemen were getting hurt and or were playing like trash. So those two guys, Damien Lewis and Michael Onwenu, if the Bengals would have picked both of them last year, we would not be talking about the improvement needed on the offensive line this year. We simply would not be. So you expect them to be able to tell the difference between a rookie lineman of the year candidate and a guy who's not going to play much, and they just missed it. This is a miss, right? I think they missed in the 7th round too, but you can't blame people for missing in the 7th round. It's kind of a crapshoot. They ended up taking Marcus Bailey, and I understand the logic there. He's before he got hurt at Purdue, he had a crazy good rookie year, a crazy good freshman year. Had a really elite breakout age. He was playing at really high levels at a super young age, and then got hurt and couldn't stay on the field. And by the time he entered the draft, he really hadn't played much college football in a while. And the Bengals were kind of banking on getting him healthy and then him returning to form, right? And we just haven't seen that yet. I like Marcus Bailey. Marcus Bailey has an awesome social media presence. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But he's not making a difference on the field. The guy that was at the top of my list for in round 7 was a guy who, because I didn't get T. Higgins, I'm glad he's here, is Tyrie Cleveland. And Tyrie Cleveland, he's the receiver out of University of Florida. The Gators, 6'2", 205. He was drafted by the Broncos, and he played in 10 games this past year. The first game he played in was in week 1, and he put up a 75.2 score, which is, that's good. That's about what T. Higgins was putting up most of the year, right? And then he went like a 7-game stretch of just not playing very well. He didn't get very many snaps, to be honest with you. He was kind of a rotational guy, but then he came in at week 13. He had a big play in week 13, in week 17. He didn't play. I think he was injured between week 13 and 17. But he came back in week 17 and got 25 snaps. Most snaps he's played all year. 13, pass attempts. In that game, he was in on 13 pass plays in that, and ended up scoring a 78.8. He's showing skills. He's not as good as T. Higgins. I am not trying to say that at all, but I'm telling you, he was the best available player. I do think he's better than Marcus Bailey. He was a BPA at that spot. That's the kind of draft I would have if it was Mike Martis instead of Duke Tobin. That would have been the draft. Let me know what you think. Is this better? Is it worse? I mean, this is just the way that I like to kind of grade how any team does in the draft, is basically looking at my big board and who I think should have gone there and who they ended up taking and what's the value difference between those players, right? At the very least, this draft, under the guidance of me, would have probably kept Joe Burrow healthy. to be honest with you. You draft Joe Burrow and then 2 guards to protect him. You know, that's kind of where my mind was, and it's really strange to me that it's kind of not where the Bengals' mind in real life was. But that's the way it goes sometimes. So let me know what you think. I really appreciate you guys sticking around. Love the conversation down in the comments. You guys keep that up. That's awesome. I'll reply to as many of them as I can. And as always, big time Who Day. Love you guys. See you next time.